Why are these things still moving? Still moving? Still moving?
Pom-poms out, pom-pom-poms out, pom-poms out, pom-pom-poms out. Go jilly, go jilly, go jilly, go. Jilly, 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 go. Pom-poms out, pom-pom-poms out, pom-poms out, pom-pom-poms out. Go jilly, go jilly, go jilly, go. Jilly, 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 go.
Japan has long struggled to achieve a measure of food independence, but in fiscal 2020, it recorded its lowest food self-sufficiency rate since records began. As climate change and Russia's invasion of Ukraine threaten supplies, agricultural specialist Suzuki Nobuhiro warns that the government lacks an appropriate sense of crisis. Hello, cheerleaders. 皆さん、こんにちは。お元気にしていますでしょうか？ 4 週間前ぐらい、ゴールデンウィークでしたね。何をしましたか？私は、水害対策するを決めたです。もうすぐ、日本に梅雨になりますね。また、世界で多くのことが起こっています。皆さん、最近のニュース、どう思いますか？例えば、ロシアとウクライナとコロナについて、あなたの気持ちは何ですか？また、インフレと食料不足も、どうですか？心配する？またくない？私は日本人の気持ちを興味があります。とにかく、ゴールデンウィーク真中、私の準備を話します。また、いくつかのニュース記事を読みます。じゃあ、今から英語使いますよ。始まりましょ
I used to live somewhere behind those houses around that road.
Golden Week is a multi-holiday week between the end of April and the beginning of May. It is the biggest break many Japanese take from work, so many of them typically travel or vacation somewhere. I would also normally use the time to travel or to do something fun. In fact, I was considering visiting or revisiting Hiroshima, but I made a final decision not to go and to do prepping instead. I will share some of what I did as well as what I have noticed has been happening in Japan as it relates to shortages and inflation compared to the rest of the world. And most of the clips in this video are from recordings I did while shopping. I did a whole lot of shopping at several stores for food and non-food items as well. And this is one of the main things I did, to be frank. And it's something I continue to do, of course, slowly and steadily. My grocery haul included items that have a relatively long shelf life. I don't think I need to show pictures here. I just bought things that I know I enjoy eating or can eat. And I also bought cleaning products, hygiene products, typical things that you use all year round, not seasonally, but they are essential, and you use them daily. I bought a raincoat as well and a portable burner. And I have seen really high quality raincoats here in Japan with high price tags too. I knew I would have invested in one or two. I finally bought one and I may buy another one in the future. But I think it's something worth having on hand, and not just for rainy season, but just any kind of emergency situation. It's a male raincoat, so it's a 2-piece with a pants. The female ones are usually ponchos, and I don't think that gives me much security or shelter from the rain, so I am okay with buying the male one. They're a lot better. And there are just so many more options compared to what is available for the females. And before now, I never considered investing in a portable burner. I have a double burner stove, which is the common thing to have in Japan. And I think that's why a lot of people buy portable burner stoves. It's common for families to have several or at least one of these. But I didn't think I needed one. But I just realized how vulnerable I am, considering that my gas is piped directly to me. I do not buy gas cylinders. And so if that supply were to cut off for one reason or another, I wouldn't be able to cook, right? And so I thought, this is something that I should have because it comes with refill cartridges or canisters, gas canisters that I purchased separately. So, what do things look like in Japan? I think the retail stores and markets do not appear to be so bad at this time in terms of prices and available supplies, but I have a few theories behind why that appears to be the case. I do believe that Japanese people are just different consumers from those in the West, as well as there are a lot of things that I do not usually buy because of food restrictions. So it's harder for me to detect price changes. Fruits and veggies, I think, have always been pricey, some seasonally, but now the prices are pretty consistently high. I do see to an extent where some supermarkets may try to create the illusion of packed or full shelves, fully stocked shelves, by pushing things to the front. And I think some things don't move off the shelves so quickly, and so things just don't look empty per se when you go into the supermarkets. Nevertheless, there are certain things that are hard to find. Some items you would normally see at certain places have become scarce since last year, in fact, and you may see them occasionally on the shelf and then maybe never again. There are a few items I can think of that I'm not able to find anymore. It may be a particular brand, it may be a particular flavor or scented product. It is just not available anymore, and you may have to settle for another brand of the same product or a smaller quantity. Shrinkflation is definitely happening as well, where you're paying more or the same for less quantity. Shipping overseas to here has skyrocketed, the shipping prices for buying things online. And I do purchase things online, so that puts a dent in your pocket. I've always paid a premium to get certain things that are just hard to find here. So I do shop on websites such as iHerb, and things have gotten noticeably way more expensive. I do usually buy enough to get free shipping, however. Now, I have been very watchful since the pandemic began because I knew I could have anticipated, with all the lockdowns that were happening, that there was going to be a negative impact globally on the economy. And I could have anticipated the inflation that we're seeing now, and even a slow reaction from the Japanese government, but not just the Japanese government, but also the people. So I'm going to read an excerpt from another article I found. So here goes. In Japan, there's a tendency to not want to shake up the status quo and to hope that things will continue as they always have, rather than to face squarely up to a potential crisis. Assuming the worst case scenario will also be costly and result in various projects becoming less feasible. An oil crisis and food insecurity used to be hotly debated issues in Japan. But after the end of the Cold War, the country entered a peaceful and fairly prosperous era during which supplies have become so constant and ample that people are no longer aware of their own vulnerabilities. As you heard in that article, the Japanese will go to delusional lengths to maintain the status quo and be hopeful about things getting better. But based on the comments I have been reading on YouTube or under YouTube videos that talk about topics such as inflation, and these news articles that I've been lucky enough to find, it is obvious that more and more people are waking up to the reality that something is on the horizon and you need to get proactive. At the beginning of the video, I shared some comments in Japanese. I'm going to display the translation for some of those comments at the end of this video so you have an idea of what people are saying in Japanese. So let's go into another article excerpt. After 9 years of heavy lifting by the Bank of Japan, it's a combination of pandemic recovery, a crater in yen, supply chain snarls, and the war in Ukraine that is pushing the world's third largest economy closest to a cycle of self-sustaining inflation in a generation. Japanese companies have typically opted to absorb higher costs without raising prices. This reluctance among businesses reflects the desire to avoid losing customers who have become hypersensitive to upward changes after more than a decade of deflation and weak prices combined with a lack of wage growth. A hefty proportion of consumers are also seniors living on tight retirement budgets that are not inflation friendly. Still, the pressure on Japanese companies to raise price is at its strongest in decades as input costs rise at the fastest pace since 1980. With price gains at around 8% in other major economies, Japan's inflation looks subdued even with the expected gains. Still, the regular news of price hikes and the impact of already higher fuel and energy prices are influencing households. Around 94% of them now see prices increasing over the coming year, according to a Cabinet Office survey, an indication that inflation expectations are changing. You know, there is a saying that says, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And in taking on this mantra, people are going as far as growing food. And I commend the Japanese people on this note actually, because vegetable gardens are a common sight in Japan. I really admire Japanese people for this. In 2021, I tried growing a few things in a pot or in pots. And some things I tried growing from the plant itself, the seed, or from the stem or the sprout. And in case of a sweet pepper plant I bought that plant. And I transplanted it and grew it. Things started out well, but then everything sort of failed eventually. And so gardening is something, there's a learning curve to it. And so I feel there's a lot more for me to learn. It's one of those skills that I want to have under my belt, and that I just think it's very helpful during uncertain times like this, and for life or survival. So a part of the plan during Golden Week was to buy some seeds this time around and do some planting. I didn't get around buying the seeds, but I did try to plant something because I had so many veggie stems from vegetables that I had cooked, and I just couldn't throw them out. So I put those in a pot, and hopefully they'll do better this time. Another skill set that I think is extremely important and fundamental is medical skills. And so I actually started a course online, a medical preparedness course. And it was a basic course, but very useful. I follow this nurse on YouTube that made the course, and it's available on her website. And she has years of experience. She also does in-person courses, but that's not an option for me. So I decided to sign up for the online course. And there are some things that I will be actioning as well in the aftermath of doing that course. I also actually got the Triple B tagline that you see in the thumbnail from her. It really captures the top 3 things that you must concern yourself with, or you should be concerned with or consider when you are prepping for, any kind of emergency situation, no matter how extreme or simple it may be. Grid down, war and famine, or just simple self-sufficiency. You need food, you need protection, and you're going to need health remedies because people do get sick. So get your beans, your band-aids, and the other B, I won't say it. Now, when it comes on to food, we must include water in our prepping, because without clean water, everything becomes difficult and things can be compromised real quickly. So I stored some water during the Golden Week period. I usually buy these bottles of cranberry juice and I save them and refill them with water and put them in storage. I had a few empty ones, so I cleaned them and filled them up and put them away. So that was pretty much my Golden Week. Not very exciting for most people. My goal number 2 is survival preparedness, or emergency preparedness, disaster preparedness, or prepping, however you want to label it. So I will do updates on this particular goal as I go along. And if you are doing small prepping like myself, and especially if you so happen to be in Japan, please leave a comment below or send me an email and let me know what's happening in your area. I would love to know, and I would love to connect.
If you'd like to join the squad, subscribe, like, and comment, because sharing is caring. See you next time we take the pom-poms out, pom-pom-poms out, pom-poms out, pom-pom-poms out, go jilly, go jilly, go jilly, go, jilly, 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 go, pom-poms out, pom-pom-poms out, pom-poms out, pom-pom-poms out, go jilly, go jilly, go jilly, go, jilly, 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 go.